Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're like most of our listeners, you're looking for, well, a massive shortcut to knowledge, and in this case, maybe the fastest, most effective way to get your English sounding fluent. We definitely know the struggle. You feel like you're drowning in grammar books, huge vocabulary lists, but then when you actually try to speak, it just sounds stiff, robotic, maybe.
Yeah, that feeling of information overload paralysis almost, it's very real. So our deep dive today is actually built specifically to tackle that. We've got this really practical toolkit shared by Teacher Sam. It's boiled down into 10 daily English sentences to transform your speaking fluency.
Right, and our mission today is basically to unpack these specific phrases. Forget the 1,000-rule textbooks for a minute. We're focusing just on these 10 high-impact sentences that promise to move you pretty much instantly from that hesitant delivery to genuinely confident conversational English. That's the goal.
Exactly. And what's really crucial to understand is why. Why these particular phrases are so potent. You see, native speakers rely on them constantly because they are, well, linguistic shortcuts. Shortcuts to two key things: rapport and emotional connection. They don't just, convey information. They convey personality, politeness, engagement, all the stuff that makes speech sound real, spontaneous. Master these 10 and your English stops being this academic exercise and becomes a real communication tool.
Okay, let's dig into this toolkit then. We can start with the phrases designed to build that immediate social warmth. Let's call them the connectors. These are all about showing you're engaged, you agree, you're tracking. We'll start with maybe the simplest one, sentence one. That sounds great.
Yeah, this one is such a workhorse of casual English agreement. It's amazing how many learners just default to a flat yes or okay. But just think about the difference in feeling, the tone, right? When you agree to grab coffee or see a movie, that sounds great. It's short, it's polite, and it just projects this authentic enthusiasm. Much better.
I sometimes even find myself using it just for myself, like as a motivational thing. If I look at my to-do list and see, finish reading the proposal, I might actually think, okay, finish the proposal. That sounds great. It sort of injects a bit of positive energy, even into boring tasks. So yeah, it proves these aren't just for talking to other people.
That's a great point. So moving from that kind of enthusiasm to maybe deeper understanding, let's look at sentence 2. I totally get you.
Now this phrase, it packs way more punch than just saying, I understand.
Hmm.
Think about when someone's venting, frustration or sharing something complex. Sometimes I understand can almost sound a bit dismissive, a bit cold.
Okay, but hold on. Doesn't I totally get you sometimes sound a little too informal? Like, what if I'm in a work meeting or talking to someone I really need to show respect to, like a client or maybe a professor? Is there a slightly more, measured way to say it that still builds that connection? That's an excellent point, yes. I totally get you is definitely a high-frequency informal speech. Perfect for friends, colleagues you know well. If you need to dial up the formality but keep that connection, you might shift to something like, I appreciate your position, or even better, maybe stick with sentence 6, which we'll get to. I see what you mean. You could add, that must be difficult. But yeah, for everyday chat, I totally get you builds those emotional bridges super fast.
Got it. Okay. Now, what if we need to show really strong agreement, like 100% on board? Our source gives us sentence 5 for that. I couldn't agree more.
Yes, and what's really interesting here linguistically is the structure. We're using a double negative, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't and more to create this extreme emphasis. It signals complete support, but in a way that sounds, well, slightly formal and actually quite impressive. You use this in a debate, a group discussion. You sound engaged, thoughtful, and definitely supportive of whoever's idea you're backing.
That's a great insight. Using negation for emphasis. It's definitely more impactful than just saying, yeah, you're right.
Exactly. And then finally, in this group of connectors, we have sentence sucks. I see what you mean. This one signals thoughtful listening. It's really good when you're processing something new or maybe dealing with a complex idea someone's explaining.
Yeah, this is so critical for avoiding that, that vague nod where you're pretending to follow along that you're actually lost. Like if someone's explaining how to use a tricky phrasal verb, you could gently jump in with, wait, okay, I see what you mean. So the action is continuous, right? It confirms you're actually tracking the details, makes the whole communication smoother, it's polite, and it stops the speaker maybe wasting time repeating stuff later.
Precisely. It shows active processing.
Okay, so we've covered agreeing and connecting, but what about those moments when, as a learner, you don't know the answer right away, or you just need a second to think without it being awkward? Let's move into the confidence builders. These are the phrases that let you sound calm and collected while basically buying yourself a few precious seconds to think.
Right. This is where we fight back against that biggest enemy for learners, the awkward silence. Sentence 4 is your go-to solution here. Let me think about it.
Hmm?
It's such a smart pause mechanism. It puts you back in control.
Oh man, I wish I had learned this phrase way earlier. You know that feeling? Someone asks a surprising question, you panic, maybe blurt out something weak, or worse, just freeze up, saying, let me think about it. It doesn't stall things awkwardly. It actually signals the question is serious. It deserves some thought. You go from sounding hesitant to sounding thoughtful, confident even.
Exactly. And sort of in the same family of managing the conversation flow, we have sentence 7. I like to call this one the savior phrase. That's a good question.
Okay, why is that one so powerful? Psychologically, I mean, beyond just buying time.
Well, it's kind of a classic rhetorical move, isn't it? You're validating the person who asked the question, which makes them feel good, but you're also subtly sort of elevating your own status as the responder. You're basically saying, your question is complex, insightful, and I'm going to treat it seriously. And crucially, it gives you those 3, maybe 5 seconds, easily enough time to process the key parts of the question and start framing a response, all without any dead air. Think about your boss asking about, I don't know, the Q3 budget projections out of the blue, this phrase.
It's valuable.
I love that. It's not just filler, it's like actual conversational strategy. Okay, let's pivot slightly. What about communicating effort, showing you're making progress? That's sentence 3. I'm working on it. Yeah, this is such a positive, realistic phrase. It manages expectations really well, especially externally. Like when people notice your English is getting better, maybe they compliment you. Instead of just brushing it off or minimizing the effort, responding with, thanks, I'm working on it, shows confidence. It shows you own your progress. It reminds everyone, including yourself, that mastery is a process, right? Not some overnight thing.
That's the perfect answer to that inevitable question. So how's your English coming along? It implies commitment, momentum. I like it. Okay, let's shift gears again. Let's look at the more situational phrases, what the source calls the social toolkit. These seem essential for handling the start, maybe a refusal, and the end of actual real-world conversations. So to break the ice, we have sentence 8. I've heard a lot about you.
Oh, this is such a warm phrase, isn't it? For meeting someone new, whether it's at work or socially, it instantly shows you value them enough to have, gathered some context beforehand. It puts them at ease, makes them feel a little important maybe, and it opens the door for them to talk about their interests or what they do. It's a really foundational phrase for networking.
Yeah, that sets such a positive tone right from the start. Okay, now for maybe one of the trickiest bits of social interaction. Saying no politely. How do we do that graciously? That brings us to sentence 9. That's not my cup of tea.
The classic English idiom. Mastering idiomatic language like this is one of those things that really separates fluent speakers from learners. When you use this phrase, say, to turn down going camping or watching a certain kind of movie, you're doing 2 things. You're politely saying it's not your preference, and you're signaling pretty high fluency because you're using this fixed cultural expression correctly.
Right. The payoff there seems huge.
Yeah.
Mastering one good idiom like this probably elevates your perceived fluency more than learning, like 50 random nouns. It's concise, expressive.
Absolutely. And then finally, to wrap things up nicely, sentence 10 handles the graceful exit. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, you never want a good conversation to just fizzle out awkwardly, right?
Yeah.
This phrase works like a warm, future-focused closure. It sounds friendly, it can be professional, and it makes sure that the rapport you just built, maybe using those other phrases like, I totally get you, or I see what you mean, doesn't just vanish when you walk away. It's like essential relationship maintenance.
Exactly. It shows emotional intelligence. It turns a temporary chat into a potential long-term connection. And that's vital, in business and just in personal life, too.
Okay, so we've covered all 10 of these high-impact sentences. We've analyzed why they work. But as Teacher Sam really emphasizes in the source material, the golden rule is actually using them, implementation. The biggest danger now is just stopping here, treating this like, okay, another list to memorize, and then not doing anything with it.
Right. That transition from just knowing it passively to using it actively, habitually, that's the real secret here. That's the core of this deep dive, really. If you actually commit to using these daily, the source suggests you'll see measurable improvements, potentially just in weeks. And we should talk about those 5 major benefits mentioned because they go way beyond just sounding polite.
Okay, yeah. Benefit number 1 they list is the instant confidence boost. Just having a ready-made, good-quality phrase available stops that internal searching, that hesitation, maybe even stuttering. You know you have a good opener or a good response ready to go.
Benefit 2, improved listening skills. Your brain is like a pattern-seeking machine, right? Once you really internalize these 10 structures, you start noticing them everywhere. In TV shows, songs, real conversations, and that active noticing, it just reinforces the learning loop. 3, because these sentences are pretty short, they have a natural rhythm. Actively repeating them helps improve your pronunciation and intonation, kind of naturally, without needing separate boring drills.
And 4, the big one, faster thinking in English. You start to cut out that step where you translate in your head. You hear a question, your brain links it straight to say, that's a good question, and the response just flows more easily.
And finally, number 5, you're actually building stronger vocabulary and grammar, but in a functional way. You're memorizing complete, useful sentence patterns that contain common structures. So no need for separate study of abstract rules necessarily.
Okay, so the million-dollar question. How do we force this knowledge into habit? The source gives some fun, practical ways, but let's talk about why they work. First up, talking to yourself in English. I know, it feels awkward, maybe even silly. But why is that actually essential?
Well, it removes all the social pressure, doesn't it? When you're alone, you can focus purely on the mechanics, the sound, the tone, the rhythm. You're building muscle memory for your English tongue, basically. If you walk into your kitchen and say out loud, okay, I'm working on my cooking skills, or, coffee, that sounds great. You're weaving these phrases into your daily life, your internal monologue made external.
That makes sense. Remove the audience, remove the fear. Another great tip was immediate application. Like, use them straight away in texting or online comments. Don't wait for some big, formal speaking opportunity.
Exactly. Start in the low-risk places. And then for people who are really ready to kind of supercharge the process, the source has these genius suggestions. The first one is keeping a daily sentence journal.
Okay, this sounds like it requires some serious commitment. Why write down 3 sentences every morning and then 3 new examples each night? What's the magic there?
It's about repetition plus context, which equals retention. Writing them in the morning primes your brain, makes you listen for them during the day. Then writing new examples in the evening forces you to actively recall them and apply them in different situations. It's like cognitive heavy lifting, basically, and it rewires your brain much faster than just passive reading ever could.
Okay.
Okay.
You could also, they suggest, record short videos of yourself. Like, pretend you're talking to a friend, using the phrases, and then this is the crucial part, watch it back. That really tackles that common issue where you feel like you sound one way, but the reality is different.
Oh, definitely. Or, if you need that immediate live feedback, find a speaking partner. Nothing beats live practice, really. You could even use these 10 phrases as a kind of checklist for your practice sessions. Make a commitment. Okay, today I'm going to naturally work in I couldn't agree more, and that's not my cup of tea at least once. And maybe most importantly, when you inevitably make a mistake, because you will just acknowledge it, maybe correct it if you can, and then just move on. Bravely, as the source says.
This whole deep dive, it really shows us that the path to faster, more natural fluency isn't necessarily about just learning more and more words, that sheer volume. It seems to be much more about mastering a powerful, strategically chosen core set of phrases. The ones that make you sound emotionally connected, instantly more confident. Fluency grows daily, doesn't it? One small, well-placed sentence at a time.
Absolutely. And the best time to actually transform your speaking, it's right now. As Teacher Sam suggests, pick 3 sentences we talked about. Maybe one connector, one confidence builder, one social phrase. Say them out loud right now. Focus on the tone, the feeling, and then pick a little plan to actually use them sometime today. Your transformation really does start with that first immediate action.
And maybe here's the final provocative thought to leave you with. While we're all striving for, linguistic perfection, perhaps the deeper emotional lesson here is about learning to speak proudly and make mistakes bravely. Fluency doesn't have to mean sounding like some specific native speaker archetype. It means sounding like you, expressing your thoughts, your personality in English. And that journey, it seems, can genuinely begin not with a massive rule book, but with just one small, powerful sentence.